What's a fact that could save your life? 1. You should still attempt to dial 911 in an emergency even if you have no bars of signal. There are protocols that allow your phone to bounce signals off any tower available, including military first responder ones and towers not on your network in the event that you attempt to call 911. 2. SAR Tech here. Can confirm this. And I just want to add, please ignore that viral post about changing your voicemail. Spoiler, you can't, and now you've wasted your battery when you could have called 911. 3. Teach your kids that if they're ever separated from you to find any closest adult, in emergencies. The likelihood of the next person you would walk up to being a pedophile are slim to none. But the odds increase dramatically waiting for the first person to approach a child alone. 4. I was taught that if I were separated from my mom to go up to a woman, especially one with kids, for help. Far less likely to be a pedophile. 5. Find another mother. That's the phrase I was taught. It's also been suggested for really busy places with lots of people is to find people that are clearly part of a group, all wearing the same t-shirts or something like that. It increases the number of people willing to help, and since they are familiar with each other, they can communicate more easily if they separate to find help. 6. Don't mix bleach with anything but water. 7. Used bleach to clean up cat pee, made mustard gas and just about took out the entire family plus the pets. Spent the rest of the day outside while the house aired out. 8. I had to get on my mom for pouring bleach in the washing machine with cat pee-soaked blankets from foster kittens. We had to open all the windows and keep the kittens in the car while the house aired out. 9. You lose heat 20 times faster when wet versus being dry. Shed wet clothes. 10. There's a saying, cotton kills. Because cotton when it gets wet will retain wetness and cling to your body, speeding up hypothermia. If you're doing anything where hypothermia is even a possibility, like camping or hiking in colder climate, having wool or synthetic clothing can save your life. And watch out for the cotton blends. 11. Summer camp counselor when I was in college. Gorgeous evening, must have been about 70 F. We were out on the ski boat around dusk helping someone learn to slalom. One gal decided she wanted a turn while the slalom guy needed a break, so she jumped in wearing her cotton street clothes. Was fine, got up and did a couple laps of the lake. Got back in the boat and just started shivering, then became non-responsive and fell to the floor of the boat. Apparently between the cooling temps around sunset, the wet cotton, and the wind from being pulled behind the boat sent her hypothermic in about 10 minutes while the rest of us were absolutely comfortable. Thankfully, we recognized the signs, got her stripped of her wet clothes and skin to skin with two other warm dry people. Yes, that was awkward to kind of forcibly remove her clothing. And back to shore where we got her in a warm environment and slowly appropriately got her core temp back where it needed to be. Wet cotton is a risk of death, even in comfortable temperatures. 12. Drove a jet ski from a friend's house to his camp, heading into the wind most of the way and getting splashed more often than not and getting soaked. I was wearing a sweatshirt in a vain attempt to stay warm and I was absolutely freezing by the time I got the camp. He had drove over in his car and at first he couldn't understand why I was shivering, changing into dry clothes, and plugging in the coffee pot because he was rather warm. 13. Baking soda will extinguish a fire, even grease and electrical fires. You should always keep a box of it nearby when you're cooking and grilling. 14. Don't pull a knife or anything else out of a puncture wound. The object may very well be keeping you from bleeding out. Only a medical professional should remove something stuck in you. 15. And if you do pull it out, don't re-stab the person. 16. Losing weight without trying could very well be cancer. 17. Or diabetes. 18. Excessive thirst combined with weight loss were the biggest signs of me having T1 diabetes. For a while I thought it was just the amount of weed I was smoking daily, cotton mouth and resisting the munchies. I was very wrong. 2 months since diagnosis. It's more or less under control now, The thirst has subsided immensely, and I've regained the 30 pounds I've lost. 19. If you fall through the ice. The dark spot is the way out. At it the sun reflects off the ice surface. The spot you entered has no ice or reflection, so will be dark. Opposite what we would naturally think. 20. Also, if you fall through the ice, make sure you grab the ice behind you to crawl back out, not in front of you. The ice behind you was obviously strong enough to hold you up until that point. My grandpa always tells me this, and his brother had unfortunately drowned this exact way when he was 6. 21. My Damas was thinking. So put your arms behind you to get out. But I understand now. Of course, if you fall and get turned around in the water, it may be difficult. To add, I was told that when getting out, slide out like a seal and starfish your body to make a larger surface area, much like a snowshoe when walking in deep snow. Of course, I live in the desert, so what the hell do I know about ice and snow? 22. That is correct, and also can save your life after an avalanche after you've dug out, as well as quicksand. Surface area is king. Spread that weight out. 23. So far, I've recognized all the previous ones, but this is something new. Thanks. Hope to never need it. 24. Don't pour water on a grease fire, put baking soda on it instead. 25. And flour is not an acceptable substitute for baking soda. Found that out the hard way. 26. Dang. You may have just saved me in the future. I was thinking. Baking soda? I feel like I've always heard flour. Thanks, man. 27. Flour mill explosions are catastrophic, because the airborne powder is quite flammable. 28. Or just cover it with a lid, or sand, even though it's dry and coarse and it gets everywhere. 29. If you get lost in the wilderness, the best thing to do is to stay calm and stay put. Unless there is an immediate threat to your safety in the area, just sit down and wait for someone to come find you. Many people die or get seriously injured because they keep moving and search and rescue can't catch up to them. 30. Best thing to do is always carry a deck of cards. If you're ever lost in the woods, just stay put and use the deck of cards to play solitaire. Eventually, someone will come along and tell you how to play your next move. 31. Carbon monoxide is odorless. Get a detector. 32. And test that detector regularly. My cousin had to evacuate his 4th-floor apartment due to carbon monoxide when his daughter was only a week old. Someone on the ground floor was using machinery without proper ventilation, and the scary thing was that the 2nd and 3rd floors' alarms were dead and didn't go off. Thanks to his making sure his detector was working, everyone was fine. 33. Signs of a stroke: fast. Face drooping. Arm weakness. Speech slurred. Time to go to the hospital. Speed of response makes the difference between sometimes walks a little funny when tired and bedbound lump. If you know old people, you need to know how to spot a stroke. 34. Had a friend die suddenly from a stroke at 34. She was incredibly healthy. It happened actually right after a workout class. I then 3 months later had another friend. He was 38, have the exact same symptoms, but the doctors thankfully caught it. He had brain surgery and recovered in a few weeks. This was a reality check for me that life is fragile and can end at any moment. 35. You also need to know they can happen at any age, even to thin, seemingly healthy people. I have a great aunt who dropped dead of a stroke at age 46, and a high school friend who was I think 38 or so when she had a thankfully mild stroke. 36. T also stands for time of onset. It's important to know because there is a window that antithrombolytic therapy can be administered. 37. They actually added 2 more letters. It's now BFAST, adding balance and eyes. So a sudden loss of balance or visual impairment of any kind? 38. If you can't find your kid in your house, don't search common places they would be. Search the most deadly places: pools, freezes, washing machines and dryers. Seconds count, and if they are hiding under the table for an extra minute, who cares? 39. Also, remember the golden rule for pool parties, family gatherings with kids. If everyone is watching the kids, no one is watching them. You need to specifically put someone on babysitting duty. You can switch people during the event, but it needs to be a specific person at all times. 40. Very true. Saved my toddler niece from drowning during because I noticed that no other adults were really watching the pool. 41. This is probably the most valuable comment I've ever read on Reddit. 42. These threads always get me anxious because I keep thinking, wow, this is so valuable, I bet I'll forget in 5 minutes. 43. We considered putting in a pool, then I realized every time I couldn't find my kids I'd be running out to the pool with my heart in my mouth. 44. I read a post on Reddit about a woman whose 3-year-old drowned. It happened so fast that she was still chewing the brownie they'd been sharing when she walked outside and saw him at the bottom of the pool. Drowning happens so incredibly fast. 45. My kid nearly drowned right in front of me. In a quiet backyard pool. He didn't even look like he was struggling, but I saw a twinkle in his eye that he was in trouble. Drowning is silent and still. I'm Australian, so we are taught water safety from a very early age, so I thankfully knew the signs immediately. It was a very scary experience and I'll never forget that twinkle in his eye. It still haunts me 15 years later. 46. Remember to check car trunks and window wells too. 47. If you get caught in a rip current, don't fight it. It won't pull you under. People die because they panic, fight it, and get tired and then drown. When you can, swim parallel to the shore out of the rip and then diagonally back to shore. Edit, I'm taking out the part about let it take you out. Because people bring up a point below that you should start swimming parallel immediately. I just meant you shouldn't fight it and swim against straight back to shore. That's not going to end well. Stay safe out there, everyone. 48. This. My parents had a second home in the Outer Banks for the majority of my childhood, and I cannot tell you how many times I've seen someone get caught in a rip. Someone try to help someone in a rip and get caught in it themselves. I have been in rips. You cannot win against the ocean. Also, your children should always have a real-life vest on at the beach. Not a puddle jumper, not arm floats. How good a swimmer your child is. The ocean is a monster and swallows things whole. 49. The rocks from a river absorb water. When rapidly heated, it causes the absorbed water to boil much quicker than steam can escape the rock. This buildup of steam causes the rock to explode, sending hot rock fragments everywhere. So don't use rocks from a river to make a fire pit. 50. That is cool and kind of scary. 51. Just because someone rings your doorbell doesn't mean you have an obligation to answer. 52. And an open door is a happy door. 53. Same with a ringing phone. My kids cannot stop answering my damn phone. I'm trying to teach them that my phone is my tool for my convenience, not anyone else's. 54. Choking is silent. If they're coughing, they're not actually choking. If someone goes silent and starts pointing to their neck, start the Heimlich maneuver. 55. Drowning is also silent. Quick edit because of upvotes for safety, especially if you have kiddos that like swimming. 5 stages to drowning. You're unconscious for 3 of them. Google shallow water blackout and understand how it works, not like regular drowning. Do not allow kids to have breath-holding contests. Don't drink alcohol, especially if you're the responsible adult at a pool. Just don't. No babies in hot tubs ever. For any reason. A lifeguard's biggest blind spot is right at their feet base of chair. Do not advise kids to swim near the lifeguard and be on the other side of the facility. They're easier to spot further away. In pools, water parks, shallow water is far more dangerous than deep water because of the risk of spinal injury. An adult can drown into of water. Seriously, do not run at a pool. Ever. Do not jump in headfirst wo a diving board and lifeguard present. Ever. Source: former guard instructor and auditor for big water parks. Second, edit to add point number 6 and include a link for number 2. 56. Yup. I almost drowned in open sea during a cruise excursion. I was near a boat surrounded by at least 30 others, and I was struggling. The thought never occurred to me to yell out for help. I was also paddling one-handed because I was stupidly carrying someone else's snorkeling mask. Even though I was at real risk of dying, I never did the obvious thing and dropped the extra gear and asked for help. Other people were never more than 15 feet from me. By a miracle, I made it back to the boat and was able to grab onto it to catch my breath. Be proactive, y'all. Look after each other in the water and don't be afraid to ask someone if they need help. And if they don't respond to your questions, they probably most definitely need help. 57. Saved my mom's life with the Heimlich I learned in high school. It's as you said. She was silent and standing very straight with her eyes wide open. Rescue took 17 minutes to get here. 58. If you are choking, don't leave the room, go to the bathroom. Stay with other people, they may need to save you. 59. If they're coughing, the body is currently taking care of it. Don't start wildly slapping their back like a monkey, you might be making it worse. Turns out that evolution is pretty awesome at refining skills like that. 60. A fishy smell in your house could mean there's an electrical fire. 61. Fun story. When I was 19 in a co-op, I brought salmon into work and microwaved it, leading to the evacuation of an office building because they thought it was an electrical issue. And that was the day I learned to not microwave fish at an office. 62. Or do it all the time and become the phantom fisher to get breaks from work. 63. Do not, I repeat, do not lay in the snow or walk home alone in the cold when you are far too drunk. I had a friend die from hypothermia and alcohol poisoning because she wanted to take a nap in the snow. 64. I live in Canada. This only applies to cold climates. They are not dead until they are warm and dead. There are many cases where somebody got stuck outside and froze, then doctor revived them. 65. However, the phrase is more specific to cold water drownings. The odds of restoring a pulse on patients is greater in cold water drowning patients. Additionally, the odds of ROSC are better for pediatric patients in these scenarios. While there are some cases of people being frozen due to dry cold exposure and being revived, most cases are limited when the tissue is frozen, making chest compressions and medication administration impossible. 66. If someone comes at you with a weapon and tells you to go with them, do not. Never go to the second location. 67. My mom told me from a really young age, if you get in the car you are never going home. Never ever get in the car. I taught my sons the same thing. 68. I was selling pest control just out of college and knocked on a guy's door. We had a long friendly conversation. I can't remember if he purchased from me or not, but as I was walking away to go to the next neighborhood, my car was some distance away, He passed me with some others in his car, and he offered to give me a ride to my car. I said no, I'm fine, it's just a half-mile or so down that way, etc. He kept insisting, over and over. I finally relented because I'm a fucking dumbass and there were multiple people in this car and they were friendly enough and in the neighborhood and all of that, but I remember being intensely terrified that I wouldn't ever see the light of day after today, but still got in the damn car anyway. Turns out he just wanted to reverse sell me on some pyramid scheme and talk to me about it the whole way to my car. About 1 minute or so was all, and dropped me off, no harm. But man, that was a lesson. Even when you really don't want to do something, peer pressure and social niceties and whatnot still can get you to do something that will end your life. I got lucky, and vowed from that point forward that if I do not know the person, I am allowed to be rude and tell them, under no uncertain circumstances, that I am unwilling to do the thing they want me to do, which may endanger my life. Don't be like me. It may save your life. Don't keep saying no in a nice way. Say no nicely once. Then say no very rudely once. And then refuse to engage after that. I have also found, since then, that mentally preparing yourself for situations by running through them in your head and confirming your reaction if it happens helps combat panic freezing immensely. While it's never exactly saved my life to do this, I have been able to think with a cool head under some stressful circumstances that other people were panicking about, simply because I had played the situation out in my brain imagination ahead of time. 69. Absolutely correct. Statistically, you are more likely to be killed at that second location. 70. If they kill you while trying to take you, it's probably faster and better than what they'll do to you at the second location. 71. Plus they're more likely to get caught. If killing you where you stand was a good option, they wouldn't need to transport you to another location. Scream, yell, fight, run. Whatever you do, don't go with them. 72. Check your breast testicles regularly for lumps. 73. If your car is broken down, do not stand in front of it while waiting for help. I had a friend killed when another driver swerved and hit her vehicle, causing it to run over her. 74. If you've gone 2.5 or more days without water, and you have to choose between drinking water without any way to sanitize it or not drinking water, drink the water. If you don't, you'll definitely die soon. Most of the diseases you can get from bad water take a couple days to set in, which gives you more time to find help. 75. Also, I've read that if you have little water left and are overheated and dehydrated, drink the water then search for more. People die with water still on them trying to conserve the water. Dehydration can be insidious and really creep up on you. 76. Wool is warmer than anything that feels warm, even when wet. 77. Cotton is a rather effective heat sink when wet. This is useful in hot weather and can be deadly in the cold. 78. Never walk, ski, snowboard near trees when there is heavy snow. There is something called a tree well that sometimes forms under trees where if you fall in you will become impacted by snow, often upside down, and suffocate to death. There's a POV video of a guy who fell into a tree well and, miraculously, another guy found him in time and saved him. Absolutely terrifying stuff. 79. My mom always taught me to count rows between your seat and the emergency exit. So if you can't see where you are going, you can feel where you are going. I'll never forget that. 80. If you get bit by a wild animal, get yourself to a hospital ASAP and tell them that you don't want rabies to set in. 81. You're only at risk of getting rabies if it's a mammal. Birds, fish, reptiles, amphibians, and invertebrates cannot carry the disease. Source: CDC. Edit: to address repeat comments. Yes, you should still get the bite treated quickly, regardless of what bit you. You're just not gonna get rabies if your assailant wasn't a mammal. I did not know that opossums and other marsupials have a body temperature that is too low for the rabies virus to survive. Nor did I know that Australia is rabies-free, though I am aware of the multitude of other ways you can die there. Bats are mammals, not birds. If one bites you, get treated for rabies. 82. Bring a lot of water if you head into the desert. Like way more than you think you need? 83. If it feels wrong, it probably is. Trust that gut feeling, it's there for a reason. 84. The symptoms of a heart attack are different for women. Have a mole check as soon as you can. Never put off going to the doctor if you think something is wrong. Fight your doctor if they don't help you. Never give up. It's your life that is in danger, not theirs. 85. If your kid gets kidnapped, don't teach them to say, "Help." Teach them to say something like, "Who the fuck are you? You're not my fucking dad, fuck you." That's gonna turn a lot more heads and get you actual help a lot quicker. 86. Once someone tried to nab me, and I think the reason I'm alive today is because I said, "Who are you and why do you want me to go with you?" 87. That's my purse. I don't know you. 88. Elephants can outrun you. Elephants can outswim you. Elephants can throw objects at you. Elephants do not think you are cute. Elephants are very emotional. Elephants remember. 89. Elephants will show up at your funeral and stomp you out again if you have been leading poachers to their babies. 90. My dad told me a story about a friend of his that has since passed. The friend spent years living in Thailand part-time when they were younger. One day, an Asian elephant was in his way, so he slapped its rump to try to get it moving. It looked back at him with apparent offense, but went on its way. 10 years later, the friend is outside his house in Thailand, and an elephant approaches. It slaps him upside the head with its trunk, and leaves peacefully again. The lesson is, don't be an ass to elephants. 91. Don't drive distracted, please, guys. 92. If you live where the winter gets cold and you are traveling by car, always bring extra clothes. Have candles in the car. Try to always know where you are. Always run from a street fight, no honor in winning and deadly if you lose. Basic rule of 3: you can survive 3 minutes without breathing, asphyxiation, blood loss. 3 hours without shelter in an extreme environment, exposure. 3 days without water, dehydration. 3 weeks without food, starvation. Priority. 93. From experience, those little tea candles you can buy don't do anything besides emotional support in a broken vehicle. 94. Inflammable does not mean non-flammable. It means it's something that could catch in fire that you don't want to catch on fire. Tank of CO2, non-flammable. Tank of propane, flammable. Tank of oxygen, inflammable. 95. Knowing that the symptoms of a heart attack are often very different for women compared to men? 96. Women usually complain of nausea, vomiting, indigestion, and sometimes chest pain, while men usually have the typical chest pain that radiates into the left arm jaw. Exiting to add shortness of breath for both genders, cause I'm a dumb head and forgot about that one. 97. Getting a second or even third opinion. You know yourself better than they do. If you don't get answers, please keep looking. Please don't settle. 98. If you're at the beach and the water recedes suddenly, run and get to the highest ground you can find. A tsunami is on the way. 99. As someone who was there in person for the Boxing Day tsunami in 2004, I now know this. I didn't at the time, and like many others, I just stood in complete bewilderment as the ocean suddenly receded halfway to the horizon. To this day, it was the most amazing, Dumbfounding and eerie thing I've ever seen. Needless to say, I got lucky to be able to tell the tale. If I ever saw it again, I'd know to run. But at the same time, I'm not sure I'd be able to look away. It was terrifyingly mesmerizing. 100. Removing the clip magazine from a handgun doesn't make it safe. One bullet can still be in the chamber.